When you stop providing the reaction someone expects, you create a psychological vacuum. For most people, this void is terrifying. They rely on your emotional response to calibrate their own behavior and to validate their internal narrative. When you remain calm, you are no longer a participant in their drama. You become a mirror. In social psychology, this transition from a reactive participant to an observant witness is one of the most threatening positions you can take. They are not actually angry at your silence. They are terrified of the thoughts they are forced to hear when you are no longer making noise to distract them. You have likely experienced a moment where someone tried to provoke you. Perhaps they used a subtle insult, a passive-aggressive comment, or a blatant display of disrespect. They were waiting for your defense. They were waiting for you to get loud, to explain yourself, or to show hurt. But you did none of those things. You simply looked at them. You might have even offered a small, neutral acknowledgement before returning to what you were doing. In that moment, the air in the room changed. The other person became more agitated, not less. They might have accused you of being cold, arrogant, or robotic. They needed you to explode so they could feel justified in their own instability. By refusing to join them, you exposed the fact that the conflict was only ever existing inside of them. This reaction is explained through the lens of projection and cognitive dissonance. Most people navigate the world by projecting their internal insecurities onto others. If they feel inadequate, they try to make you feel small. If they feel chaotic, they try to create chaos in your environment. When you refuse to absorb that projection, the energy has nowhere to go. It reflects back onto the sender. This creates an intense psychological discomfort. They are forced to confront the reality that their anger is a choice, not a reaction to your behavior. To avoid this realization, they will often escalate. They will push harder to find your breaking point because your breaking point is the only place where they feel safe. In social psychology, we understand that humans have a deep-seated need for predictability. When someone interacts with you, they have a mental script of how the exchange should go. Usually, this script involves a back-and-forth exchange of emotional energy. If they give you anger, they expect a return of fear or defensiveness. When you break the script by maintaining your equilibrium, you disrupt their sense of control. To a manipulative or insecure person, your silence feels like a loss of leverage. They can no longer predict your next move, and what is unpredictable cannot be managed. This is why your peace feels like a personal attack to someone who is used to winning through emotional attrition. The discomfort they feel is also a result of your lack of emotional dependency. When you do not seek their approval or fear their disapproval, you are operating outside of their hierarchy. Most social structures are built on a system of subtle emotional debts. We perform for others, and they reward us with validation. When you stop performing, you declare that their validation has no value to you. This is an act of extreme independence. It signals that your self-perception is internal rather than external. To someone who lives for the opinions of others, your self-contained nature looks like a threat to the very social fabric they rely on. We must also look at the concept of the narcissistic wound. This occurs when someone's inflated or fragile self-image is threatened by the reality of another person and opposes autonomy. Your boundaries are not meant to punish them, but they perceive them as punishment because your boundaries prevent them from using you as a tool for their own emotional regulation. They view your distance as coldness because they cannot conceive of a relationship that ISN and oppose, based on mutual enmeshment. They see your quiet strength as a weapon, when in reality, it is simply a shield. You are often told that you need to speak up to be respected. Social psychology suggests the opposite. Respect is rarely earned through loud demands or constant explanations. It is earned through the consistent application of boundaries and the refusal to be moved by external pressure. When you are quiet and observant, you are collecting data. You are seeing people for who they actually are, rather than who they pretend to be when they are getting what they want. People sense this. They realize that you are seeing through their masks, and that realization creates a deep sense of vulnerability. Your silence is not a void. It is a presence. It is the presence of a person who is comfortable with themselves. It is the presence of someone who does not need to fill the air with justifications or apologies for existing. When you stop explaining yourself, you reclaim the energy you used to waste on people who were never listening anyway. You begin to see that most social interactions are just a series of projections and defense mechanisms. By stepping back, you gain a perspective that the reactive person can never have. This distance is not an act of cruelty. It is an act of clarity. It allows you to see the difference between a genuine connection and a power struggle. Most people are so caught up in the struggle that they have forgotten how to connect. When you provide them with a boundary, you are actually giving them an opportunity to self-reflect, even if they choose to use that opportunity to become more resentful. You are not responsible for how they handle the reflection they see in your silence. Understand that their frustration with you is a sign of your growth. If you were still easily manipulated, they would be happy with you. If you were still reactive, they would feel in control. Their discomfort is the evidence that you have moved beyond their reach. You are no longer a character in their story, you have become the author of your own. This shift is unsettling to those who once benefited from your compliance. Stay in your calm. Do not lower your vibration to match the noise of those around you. Your equilibrium is your greatest asset in a world that thrives on distraction and reaction. When they can no longer pull your strings, they will try to convince the world that you are the problem. Let them. The people who matter will see the truth, and the people who don and oppose, will eventually move on to a target that is easier to disturb. Your silence is your power. Your distance is your dignity. Your boundaries are the lines that define where their chaos ends and your peace begins.